You might notice my face is a bit red today, and that's because I spent 3 hours in the sun waiting for this. What's up guys, it's Chris here. Now, as you know on this channel, we talk about money, we talk about finance and investing, as well as market news and company reviews, but we also follow my own personal investing journey, and I'll show you all of the wins and losses and exactly what I'm investing in and when to build my own portfolio. That's why in today's video, I'm going to take you through the latest look at my entire 624,000 Rand investing portfolio, down to every share and every Rand and cents. And you might know that it's my goal to financially retire by 40, so I'll show you how I have carefully constructed this portfolio to be able to do that, and how so far I've been able to roughly double my income for the last 3 years in a row. This is the most in-depth I've gone into my portfolio in a while, so let's get started. So like I said, it is my goal to be able to financially retire by 40. I'm 32 right now, and the investments that I make are often done towards reaching that goal. But apart from that, I'm also investing to build something special for the rest of my life, for myself and my family. Now, it doesn't mean that everything I invest in is a success, or that if you follow it, you are guaranteed to do well. But what I always look to do on this channel is to share my experiences and chat to you about my investments like a friend over a coffee, so that you can take in the information and use the good, throw away the bad, and at the end of the day be a better investor after watching these videos. Also, just quickly, if I can ask you a huge favor to just hit the like button there before we begin, that would be really awesome. Okay, so let's get straight into my portfolio and open up all of my investments. Now, we're going to start with the cash side, and I always recommend that you keep a portion of your portfolio in cash for a couple of reasons. It could be for a rainy day or as an emergency fund should something go wrong. For me, it's most important as a buffer between unexpected expenses in life and your portfolio. So if your car breaks down, you can use the cash and not have to sell your shares that we are hoping to hold on to for the long term. And the added cherry on top is that you're also earning interest and an income on that cash. And remember, when interest rates are high like they are now, your positive interest rate on cash goes up as well. So I keep my cash reserves in Investec in an account called a Prime Saver account. And as the name suggests, it is linked to the prime interest rate. So right now, this account is paying 8.15% interest a year and pays the interest monthly like most accounts. So I'm keeping 119,000 Rand in this account, and it makes roughly 800 Rand income a month. But I know the Prime Saver is a 100,000 Rand minimum, so a good alternative is Time Bank that pays 7 to 11% interest depending on how you bank with them. Then next up is loans given out. So this is an interesting one that I'll take you through. What I'll often do, especially in times of high interest rates, is use cash from my reserves to pay down high interest charging accounts and pay myself back with interest instead of the banks. So here's an example. The interest rate on my car loan is a negative 13.25%, and the positive interest on the Investec account is 8.15%. So for every Rand I keep in savings, I'm losing 5.1% in the difference. So instead of paying that interest to Westbank, I'll pay a portion of the loan off in cash, let's say 100,000 Rand, and then I'll pay myself back monthly with an interest of 9%, for example. So instead of paying 13% to a bank, I'm paying 9% to myself, and instead of earning 8% in a savings account, I'm also earning 9% in interest. So you're paying yourself instead of the bank. And you can do the same thing with any high interest account like car loans, credit cards, short-term loans, whatever it is. And right now with high interest rates, it's a good time to pay down high interest bearing accounts. So I've got 118,000 Rand in this category at an interest of 9%. But keep in mind, often once paid, like for a car, you can't draw the money out again. So it's still important to keep that cash balance healthy as a buffer. Now, next up is my passively managed investment portfolio. And that means I don't do any work on it whatsoever. I put money with Liberty to manage for me every month, and I forget about it and let it grow. So there is nearly £250,000 that I manage myself, which we'll get to next, but this one is Liberty's job to try and get the best results. And the reason for this is just diversification and risk management. So regardless of how well or badly I invest, I have a portion that is managed by the quote-unquote experts, which in theory should be managed safely and with good results. So for this one, I have got a total amount invested of 159,000 Rand, and it's invested with Liberty in their Mentonova Wealth Fund. Okay, and next up is the exciting part that we all want to see, which is my actively managed EasyEquities portfolio. But just before we get to that, I wanted to let you know that we now have a 7-day free trial running for the Casual Cash Club on Patreon. And I'm glad I recently found out how to do this, because it allows for everyone who watches these videos to be able to access the Casual Cash Club and the community that we have there. And after the 7 days, if you don't want to continue in the club, then you don't have to. And if you want to join our other 45 members, then that's great. So with this 7-day free trial, you get immediate access to all of the posts since we started, including all of my buys and sells for the last 7 months, or market news like the updates I gave on the market movements this last week. I also post my monthly income and expenses that show my dividends and what company they're coming from, portfolio updates on my EasyEquities portfolio every month, tips and tricks on how to invest better, and Excel sheets that you can download right now to help you track your investments, income, and portfolio growth. And if you have questions, you can message me one-on-one. I really enjoy this community, so you can click the link in the description to join. And hey, it's free, so why not? But back to the video. Alright, so let's take a look into my 226,000 Rand EasyEquities portfolio. Let's start through the USA account, the UK shares, and then the South African portfolio. The first stop is the USA. And here I have 6 different investments, and all of them are in US dollars. Not only has the dollar performed well, but it also diversifies risk to the Rand. My first 2 are covered call ETFs, called the Global X Nasdaq 100 Covered Call and the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income. The Global X is $416 and the JP Morgan is $404, and they both pay around 9.7% dividends in a year. But the best part is they pay you these dividends every single month, just like a second income. Then we have property shares, where we own $821 of Simon Property Group that is currently paying an epic 7.2% dividends, and $566 of Realty Income, which is paying 6.2% in dividends. And with Realty Income, you are also receiving your income monthly, just like if you owned an investment property and collected the rental. Now, there is a video coming up where I'll dive into all of the profits and losses on each of these investments this year, so if you want to see that, you can subscribe to the channel to catch it then. The final 2 in our USA stable are ETFs, and both with a different function. There is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, and as the name suggests, its purpose is to pay dividends at 4%. But it also holds some of the biggest USA companies on the exchange, which gives it great long-term share price growth, so we have $586 here. Then we also carry the Staple ETF, which is the S&P 500, a collection of the top 500 companies in the USA. Its dividend is just 1.5%, but that's because its main purpose is long-term share price growth. And very few companies can outcompete this ETF over the long term to grow your capital. So here we have $340, and we keep adding and dollar cost averaging over time. Now you will notice I have a lot of dividend stocks, because this brings me closer to my goal of financial retirement through income. But you also don't want to miss out on compound capital growth, so I always make sure I keep and add to both dividend shares and capital growth shares. So that's the USA portfolio, which comes to a total of $3,136 or 59,500 Rand. I think the USA market is showing very good value and cheaper prices at the moment, and I've been building up my shares and passive income in dollars this year. I'm hoping to make my USA portfolio a dividend powerhouse and see some share growth in the next 1 to 3 years as inflation and interest rates come down. And of course, keep holding them for the long term, and if possible for the rest of my life. Then let's pop over the pond to our UK portfolio. Here we have 5 different investments. First, the ETFs. And if you haven't noticed, I'm a fan of broad market ETF indexes. This time it's the FTSE 100, the 100 largest companies in the UK, with a shareholding of £96, and it pays a very decent 3.8% in dividends. Then the Euro Stoxx 50, or 50 largest companies in Europe, and with £90 invested, they also pay around 3.8% dividends. Now with the companies. We'll start with HSBC, a finance company that is one of my most profitable investments at the moment. I bought £298 in the share, and it pays a nice 5.6% dividends. Next is another in finance, but this time it is Lloyds Bank with £278 in the company. I also receive a nice 6.1% in dividends. Lastly for the UK is SSE, which is a renewable energy company that operates in wind, solar, gas and hydropower. For the last decade, Europe has been converting more and more towards green energy, and since Russia invaded Ukraine, the Eurozone has started moving towards becoming more independent with their energy, so I like this share long term. So I have a larger £563 in the company, and they pay me 6% dividends a year. Alright, so the total of our UK portfolio comes to £1,300 invested, which translates to £30,000. But if you like the first two, well, they are just a fraction of the £136,000 portfolio that we have in South Africa. So let's take a look at the local EasyEquities account. Okay, we're going to pause here quickly because I have to mention that I haven't really invested into any South African shares since about March this year. And there really is a very simple reason why, so let me show you. So these are 3 market indexes that I dollar cost average into every month with R100 each. The same 3 shares, the same exact amount and at the same times. So on a completely even playing field, here you can see the results. The UK's top 100 is up 7%, the USA's top 500 is up 13%, and South Africa's top 40 is down 3%. So quite simply, we're all here to make money and get the best returns, and the best returns this year have been offshore, specifically in the USA markets. So that's where I've been investing a lot. But if South Africa starts performing better than the others, then I'll invest more there. It's simply about where the best returns are. And these are also the first 3 shares of the SA portfolio, and you can see come to a total of around R6,900, and these are the dividends. But although I haven't invested any extra, the investments I do own have performed quite well with good share price growth and dividend income. So let's look at the banks. I have 3 investments in SA banks that I dollar cost averaged over last year. Now I invested the same amounts, but here is the total now with their profits. First Rand I hold R6,400 with 6.4% dividends. Nedbank I hold R6,600 with 8.8% dividends, and Standard Bank is in the lead with R7,800 in holdings and a nice 7.5% dividends. So that's R20,000 in SA banks. Sticking with finance, we also have Sanlam with R10,000 and 5.4% dividends. Then our property shares. The first is Fairvest B shares with R6,700 invested and a dividend of 8.6%. Then we have Storage with a slightly larger R16,400 and a dividend yield of exactly 10% a year. And even larger still is our mystery share. And if you're newer to the channel, the mystery share is a JSE company I hold shares in, but because I work with them in the real world, I don't want to share any information on it. So I'm sorry about that, but here I have R30,000 in a share and it currently pays 15.6% in dividends. And the very last investments in our South African portfolio are the bonus unit trusts. These are some low-risk investments with high dividends. There is the Coronation Strategic Income, which I have R20,000 invested, and that pays me a whopping 9.92% dividends a year, paying every 3 months. Then the Prescient Income Provider, a unit trust that I have R25,000 invested, and that pays out 8.2% dividends a year, except this one also pays you every single month. And that is our South African portfolio that comes to the total of R136,000. So there you have it. That is all of our investments, and if you break down all of the totals, you will see that we currently have cash as 19% of our portfolio, loans given as 19%, our passively managed portfolio makes up 25%, and lastly, the actively managed EasyEquities portfolio makes up the remaining 36% of the portfolio. And all of those together comes to our total of 624,167 Rand and 10 cents. And our average dividend income for our full portfolio is a nice 8.34% in passive income. And if you want to pause the screen, here is the full breakdown. But guys, that is it for today's video. Please make sure that you do these two things right here. If you have any questions at all, you can ask me in the comments, and remember that there is the 7-day free trial for the Casual Cash Club, which is waiting for everyone in the description below. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you all, and until then, I'll see you guys next time, as always, on Casual Cash. Cheers.